Hey guys, welcome to Madezzy On The Street.
We're the Madezzy analysts, and we're gonna run around campus and figure out what people don't know about the Middle East.
Yeah, we're gonna be asking questions to random people, just running up to them, asking what they know, what they don't know, getting their answers, and yeah, we're just gonna analyze all of that.
Yeah, and we'll report back to you guys with our results.
Catch you on the other side.
Welcome to
Madezzy On The Street.
I'm Sezzy.
I'm Maddie, and we're here to interview people about the Middle East.
Are you ready?
I am. Let's go.
Excuse me, ma'am. Can you name 3 countries in the Middle East?
What?
Can you name 3 countries in the Middle East?
In the Middle East?
Yes. Oh my God! Excuse me, sir. Can you name 3 countries in the Middle East?
Iraq, Saudi Arabia, and Yemen.
Yes! Oh God, policemen.
Excuse me, sir. Can you please name 3 countries in the Middle East?
Saudi Arabia, Qatar, and Oman.
Lovely, let's go. Okay, let's ask him. Excuse me, sir. Can you name 3 countries in the Middle East?
Syria, Iraq, and Afghanistan.
Yes!
Ma'am, can you please name 3 countries in the Middle East?
Oh gosh, I'm not sure.
Okay, let's go! No. There's a white person, let's get them. What's the first thing you think of when you hear the word Middle East? Oh, Jesus Christ. Okay. Excuse me, sir. Sir, what's the first thing you think of when you hear the word Middle East?
Islam.
Oh! Excuse me, guys. Excuse me. What's the first thing you think of when you hear the word Middle East?
The music?
Do you know what any singers from the Middle East?
I know they have like specific instruments,
Like what?
like some drums with like wheel shapes.
All right, let's go. Excuse me, sir. What's the first thing you think of when you hear the words Middle East?
Saudi Arabia.
All right, then.
Saudi Arabia.
Bro.
Sand?
Okay.
What?
What's the first thing you think of when you hear Middle East?
Israel.
Don't get run over, y'all. Sir, what's the first thing you think of when you hear the word Middle East? That was too long. Let's go. What's the first thing you think of when you hear Middle East?
Good people?
I guess just the Gaza Strip area.
Okay. Excuse me, guys. Guys, do you know what Al Jazeera is?
No.
Excuse me, sir. Do you know what Al Jazeera is?
No.
Excuse me, you guys, have you ever been to Al Jazeera? No. Al Jazeera?
I don't know.
Do you know what Al Jazeera is?
What?
Do you know what Al Jazeera is?
No.
Can you give me a guess?
It's a medicine.
Sir, do you know what Al Jazeera is?
I do not.
Can you give me a guess?
I'm a little busy. I gotta
Excuse me, sir. Do you know what Al Jazeera is?
Guys, do you guys know what Al Jazeera is? Do you know what Al Jazeera is?
No. No idea.
Wait, can you guess what it is?
A disease. Yeah, it sounds like a disease.
All right. Do you know what Al Jazeera is?
No.
Do you know what Al Jazeera is?
No?
Can you guess?
What did you say?
Al Jazeera?
No, I have no idea.
Okay. Do you know what Al Jazeera is?
What did you say? Wait, I don't have good hearing.
Al Jazeera.
No.
Can you guess what it is?
A plant?
Okay. Do you know what Al Jazeera is?
TV. It's a news. Yeah,
It's a
news
news
thing.
How did you know that?
I watch Al Jazeera.
Oh! We gotta stand right here. Okay. Do you guys know what Al Jazeera is?
No, what is that? Oh, Al Jazeera? Yeah. Nah, I haven't heard about it.
Mr. Chick-fil-A, do you know what Al Jazeera is?
I do not.
Can you guess what it is?
It sounds like a complicated math formula.
Do you know what Al Jazeera is?
Yes. It's a news website.
Yes! Do you know what Al Jazeera? No. Okay. Do any of you know what Al Jazeera is?
Can y'all name one Middle Eastern celebrity?
Oh, goodness. No.
Me. Can y'all name one Middle Eastern celebrity?
No.
No.
Can you name a Middle Eastern movie?
No.
Isn't Borat one of them?
Oh my god! Can y'all name one Middle Eastern celebrity?
Sorry, I can't.
Oh my god. Can you name one Middle Eastern celebrity?
So Yang.
Excuse me?
So Yang.
All right then. What does he do?
That's a girl, actually.
Oh shit! Can you name one Middle Eastern celebrity?
No.
Can you name one Middle Eastern movie?
No.
Oh god. Kulthum. Kulthum. Excuse me. Can you name one Middle Eastern celebrity?
I don't know anyone.
Can you name a Middle Eastern movie?
No.
Do you know what Al Jazeera is?
No.
Can y'all name one Middle Eastern celebrity?
No. No.
Can y'all name one Middle Eastern celebrity?
Guys, do you know what the Arab Spring is?
The Arab Spring? Yes.
I recognize
Arab, but I don't know what an Arab Spring is.
Can you guess what it is?
Maybe, is it something religious?
Okay.
Yeah, I'm gonna go with what she said.
All right. Ma'am, do you know what the Arab Spring is?
What?
Do you know what the Arab Spring is?
No.
Can you guess what it is?
The Spring of Arabs.
Okay. Low effort, but it's fine. Do you know what the Arab Spring is?
The what?
The Arab Spring.
Arab Spring? No,
Can you guess what it is?
Arab, something to do with Arab people?
Okay. Okay. Yes, white men. Sir, do you know what the Arab Spring is?
I can't talk, I'm sorry.
Oh. He gave me the hand.
Mm-mm.
Can you guess what it is?
Mm-mm.
Okay. She said. Do you know what the Arab Spring is?
Yes.
What is it?
It was when there's Arab people that rose up through Facebook and overthrew governments in like countries like Egypt. And you wanna pick it up?
8 points. Hello! Hi! Sorry. Do you know what the Arab Spring is?
No.
Do you want to guess?
I'm nervous.
It's okay, just anything.
I think it is something that is not good.
Hi, can I ask you a question? What's the most recent news you've heard about the Middle East?
Oh, I don't know. I haven't watched the news. I've been studying.
That's understandable. What is the most recent news you've heard about the Middle East?
The Middle East? Most recent?
Or anything.
Probably when Trump pulled troops out of Syria and
And
thing that I know.
where did you hear that information? Where's your source?
What is the news thing on Snapchat? What's that called?
The United States was banning some people from the Middle East from coming over here for like various competitions, which is really sad.
Where did you hear that from?
Social media.
Excuse me. Excuse me. Hi, can you give me any recent news you've heard about the Middle East?
I've never even heard of the Middle East. I'm not gonna lie.
Excuse me, sir. Can you answer a question for me?
Yeah, what is it?
Do you have any recent news about the Middle East? Have you heard any?
What is this about?
The Middle East.
No.
Woo! That was exhausting.
Man.
That was the only exercise I need for a long time.
Same.
Oh boy.
Oh my gosh.
What had stuck out to you about that, Rachel?
Well, I noticed that when we ask people about, what Middle Eastern celebrity, can you name one Middle Eastern celebrity? No one could name hardly anyone.
It was insane.
Like,
Someone
honestly,
said Borat. Someone said Jasmine.
that Jasmine actress, which she's not even Middle Eastern.
They just
so-
assumed she was Middle Eastern because
she's
of the movie and she's brown. And that's also Disney being like, yeah, she's close enough. There's a serious lack of representation of actors in the portraying Middle Eastern actors
in Western movies.
The only one that, in terms like in Western films, in terms of like big actors, the only one I could think was like Rami Malek.
But I think when a name doesn't come to mind immediately, or when there's not a lot of options, it just really says something about representation of Middle Eastern people in not just media, but in all facets of any industry.
Speaking of celebrity, man, no one could name a single Middle Eastern movie or a movie about the Middle East.
An accurate movie about the Middle East.
Well, people had a very knowledgeable amount of information about the countries in the Middle East.
Yes.
They didn't know much about the actual runnings of the countries or what their
culture, the language, the society. All they knew was the land.
Which reminds us of a certain reading.
So, it's kind of a tangent, but in the reading, Walking in the City, it's more about agency and people actually like walking in the city and being down in the city, in the world, and experiencing firsthand and being able to act upon that. But very similarly, we felt that the people that really only commented on the land or just looking at the Middle East from a very broad perspective were like the people that stand at the skyscrapers on top of the city and just look at it from a very objective and very broad standpoint, not really paying attention to anything specific within the city. So just looking at the Middle East as this land that is just comprised of various countries, but not actually knowing or experiencing any of the culture, any of the language, or any of the society that goes on within, the Middle East.
And that is a lot how the Western news portrays the Middle East.
Yeah.
It's often presented as one unit.
Yeah.
Instead of like several different countries, several cultures.
Yeah, because
which is hugely problematic in how it's presented. And we found that out through asking just about Al Jazeera, and not many people could actually say what it was.
Yeah.
Some people said it was a plant,
a
drug, etc., and that's really just due to how the stigma from the 2000s portrayed Al Jazeera in a certain light that I think still is there in American culture.
Yeah, and yeah, it's kind of weird that such a big news outlet in the Middle East is not even really recognized in the Western world, whereas I'm sure BBC or other big news outlets from the Western world would be recognizable.
Sounds about right. Yeah. A lot of people said that they couldn't name a lot of specific events of what was going on in the Middle East currently.
They just said a lot of conflict.
Yeah, they're like, man, the bad stuff is happening there.
Yeah.
That sucks. And they're like, where'd you hear that? Usually Twitter.
Facebook. Snapchat.
Yeah, Snapchat.
Like,
who gets their news from Snapchat?
One of the questions that we asked was, do you know what the Arab Spring is? Or what is the Arab Spring? And people were not able to really give an answer on that.
Yeah, and those who did very rarely came up with like a full-fledged answer other than like bad event in the Middle East.
Yeah.
And I think that's due, once again, to like a lot of how Middle Eastern culture isn't represented in the news, in conversation, and also that when it is, it's only done through the lens of violence or bad events.
The fact is that there was so much more than that. It's not, the revolution was not just about violence and terrorist activities, but that it was, people coming together to stand up against the government. And that's the side that we don't see and that's the side that's not presented to us from the Western media. And so we only see the negative things, and so that's why we only think that.
So that portrayal of violence was referenced in Jack Shaheen's Real Bad Arabs when he talks about a lot about how the Arabs are always vilified and used very stereotypically as violent natures. Like Aladdin talks about cutting off the hands, things like that, and that's also portrayed through the news, things like that.
Yeah, it all just kind of ties into one each other. They're all like, the Middle Eastern perspective is just this constant perpetuation of violence and terrorism and war, and that's kind of all we see. And whether it be through Hollywood or news, we're all consuming this Western media, and that's just kind of painting, and it's just continuing to shape our mind in this very one-sided way, instead of seeing like the whole picture. The last thing we noticed was that when we asked people these questions, they were kind of hesitant to answer.
Always,
especially about if they weren't sure about something. They didn't want to be like caught on camera by saying something incorrect, or even they were a little vague or scared to answer these questions. And we felt like that just really points to how like almost taboo the Middle Eastern topic is in Western culture.
Yeah, and there's a lot of moments where, beyond people not wanting to be filmed, they would hear the question and they would just not want to answer it, which is really sort of weird that it's not like an active conversation really in Western culture, compared to things like, oh, what's happening in Europe right now, like Brexit's happening there. That's constantly in the American news flow. It's constantly in conversation, but we do not really talk about Middle Eastern culture.
Yeah, and I feel like we've noticed that the news that comes in about the Middle East through a Western perspective is always seen through a very negative lens. The reason why this class should be canceled is that this class provides a very safe space to talk about these subjects head on in a very non-judgmental way, in a safe environment, with other classmates that are also in the same boat and are wanting to learn.
Yeah, that discussion was an extremely valuable part that we tried to engage with this project. Is we're branching the discussion outside of the classroom, asking these questions to people, trying to get them thinking, really see if these conversations are happening, which we found out most of the time they aren't.
They're not.
And so this class is incredibly important to continue the conversation and keep it alive and keep the Middle East in Western mindsets.
Accurately.